Hi, this is the Social Gelo with Angelo show. My name's Angelo. I'm a social scientist, surfer, martial artist, and a whole lot of other things. Coming to you live from Kasai City, Japan, the Social Gelo with Angelo show.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is part of the Kajukenbo series. If you like what you see, please subscribe to support the show, and I really appreciate it. If you're listening to this on iTunes, check out the YouTube at Social Gelo with Angelo. You can Google search it and hit subscribe.
Alright, so we're live. Well, I guess we're not really live. I do record and edit, but we are live in the conversation here with Angie Abad-Mancia. I love Mancia. I love to start off by butchering the guest's name to show how unprofessional I am as we get started.
We all do it, just nobody wants to admit it.
Well, like my last name is pronounced Ferrer, and I don't expect anyone to ever do that without like getting a tongue cramp or something. So like, I gotta let that go. So again, Angie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm honored.
And as I mentioned earlier off camera, this is part of the Kajukenbo series. If you don't mind for my guests, would you mind just sharing, even though, and I always say this to everyone who does Kajukenbo, especially my Kajukenbo Ohana, I always tell them, hey, I don't care about titles and I don't care about belts. But some people do. And and no offense to those people that do. That's all good. But if you want to just share with my guests your title and your background in Kajukenbo real quick.
I'm under the lineage of Alan Abad, my father, and my mother, Girly Abad. I'm an 8th degree black belt under Kajukenbo and 5th degree under my dad, Hungar Kembo. I've been training, I guess, since my mom was pregnant with us. I'm the oldest, so there's 4 younger sisters, so she's been training forever. So, yeah, I guess I could say I started maybe 4 or 5.
Wow.
And then I didn't really get into it until, when I took it seriously, that it might be something I want to do was when I became a black belt. Yeah, other than that, it was following mom and dad to the tournaments, the internationals, training with their students that they had. It was a great experience being part of a big family, but even a bigger family when it came to the martial arts.
And I guess, again, for some of my listeners that don't know, and maybe you caught on, like, Angie's from a martial arts family, right? So some people get into martial arts later in life, but it's a little bit of a different path when you're the child of a grandmaster and several world time champion. Things are a little bit different.
Everybody gets to go home and play, and it was martial arts 24/7. I mean, when they say a life of a martial artist, it truly was a life of a martial artist. We were very disciplined, well-mannered. We did get into trouble. I mean, that's how we all learn to be good girls. Good martial artists,
But it's the yin yang, right? It's the yin yang.
Exactly.
So you said you did start at a very young age, and and you started working. You obviously training every day from the age of 4, and then you ended up getting your black belt. And you mentioned like that's when I started taking seriously is when I got my black belt. How did that what do you mean by like you started taking it seriously? Like what kind of goals did you start what kind of things did you start thinking about after you got that black belt?
Well, the story behind that is training with mom and dad every day and being around all their students, and they're great students, you know, and I was like, I'm not good like them, and I wasn't as um, what is that word I'm looking for? Confident, you know. It was kind of like I'm skinny, I have long hair. I don't. They just look good. They had this strength in them, and I didn't have that when I was younger. And so we did shows and stuff like that, but it was my first tournament, and I think I was maybe 10, 11, and it was a Ted Tabura tournament in Laughlin, and I entered it. I was a purple belt. Was it purple? Maybe orange or purple. And my dad watched me, and I freaked. I literally freaked out. And I lost, and it was a good learning experience at that age for me. And I said to myself, I will never enter another tournament until I reach my black belt. And so I didn't enter a tournament. My dad was like, you can do this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'll train, but I'm not going to enter another tournament. But I knew then that I wasn't going to um, enter another one until I hit a black belt, because to me, hitting a black belt meant that I went through the journey of becoming more confident, uh, more what is that? What word? Dedicated into what I wanted to do when it came to the martial arts. I mean, there's sometimes, you know, in your teenage years, you're like, no, forget it. But we continued to train, and then I got my black belt when I was 24. 24, and then literally right from there, maybe 2 weeks after I got my black belt, I entered my first competition, and I took first. And that was nervousness, courage, confidence. My fear turned into courage, and I think I knew that's where I wanted to be. It gave me a sense of, I can do this. Scared shitless, but I did it, you know. I got in the middle of the floor, and they all looked at me crazy, but that's okay.
Well, you know, being able to harness that energy, that nervous adrenaline dump is a
Yeah.
really big challenge and tool at the same time
Yes.
when you
Mm.
use it as a martial artist. And yeah, and you also answered a question that I ask a lot of people: is when did you decide to get your black belt? Everybody has a different story as when and why they made that decision. So I'm really glad
Yeah.
that you shared that with people, because a lot of people, you know, some people do it, some people do martial arts for different reasons,
Yeah.
and they never really go for the black belt, or or it starts
Yeah.
getting time for the black belt, and they don't know what kind of responsibility that comes with that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't really until it was, you know, when I get my black belt, but it wasn't, not even when I was in my teens and 20s. I really didn't think I was gonna get my black belt. You know, I had you know, my first son, and it was kind of like, I don't know, do I really want to do this? But I knew I had to prove to my dad. And so that was coming in and training and helping out, and at least trying to be consistent in my later teens, you know. I really had to prove to him. And it was, yeah, I was on my second child when I had when I got my first black belt.
And so you came from, you were explaining a little bit about your dad and how he influenced you a little bit on your path, and you kind of took a, I don't know, I'm sensing you took like a break for a little while there, right? A little bit
Yes,
to kind of get
yes,
yourself grounded, and you came back again.
yes.
And I know from looking at your dad's personal path, it seems like, I'm always telling people this, how Kajukenbo, since we're not really set, we have our basic styles that we train in, which is very free formatted. We're not really restricted by anything, by any
Anything, yeah,
means.
yeah,
And because of that, a Kajukenbo martial artist will look every year they'll look different from the way they did the year before, and not in a bad way, in a good way. Like they're evolving, they're constantly evolving.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like in that time that you took a break and you came back, how did you see any of these changes? Like when you left and you came back, was it all relatively the same, or did you feel like was there anything new that came up, or
You mean with my dad?
as far as like the
Or
style
the
and
style itself?
what you were
Oh
going over?
gosh. It's um with my dad, he I mean, he kind of prepared us for a change or the evolution of Kajukenbo. He was one to be, even Sijo Emperado encouraged my mom and dad. Yes, this is Kajukenbo, but you guys do really good in wushu and kung fu. Go for that. That's your style. And he really encouraged my mom and dad to incorporate everything that they have. And so with Kajukenbo growing, we knew it was going to grow. We knew it was going to evolve. But I think what's changed now is the attitude of Kajukenbo. I mean, I remember back then when Kajukenbo was solid. It was a solid base. It was, you knew who was who and the background they came from and what they stood for as not just as the worldwide Kajukenbo family, but even as the branches of Kajukenbo families. They were all solid. Nowadays it's everybody wants to pick a leaf off of somebody and just, make a big basket of leaves. And then you're gonna throw it out the damn door because no one's like I'm sorry.
No, 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 no.
I love Kaj, and that's a passion, like I would come between like me and my sister Dolly. Dad. She was with Dad more of when the soft style and the kung fu came out, and she was with my dad more on that, and I was with more of my mom and dad when the hardness of Kajukenbo from back in the day. But we blend very well together, and it's hard to see nowadays Kajukenbo blending when everyone's saying kind of, well, I'm from so and so, and I'm from so and so, and we're this and we're that, and we teach like this. That's great, but that doesn't mean anybody's better than anybody else. We're supposed to come from the same root, so why don't we build this tree and make it just last forever in a good way? Respect your roots,
Yeah,
which means respect the elders.
yeah.
Just respect where you came from.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always I stay as far away from any politics from a style. And all styles have them. Like I'm not
Oh
criticizing
yeah,
a particular country. Like
yeah,
as you know, I cross train, so I also train with the Gracie Barra Jiu Jitsu school out here in Japan. But
nice.
but like what I learned is politics are politics. And they're
Yeah,
everywhere. Even the Gracie Barra
yeah.
people have their drama with that stuff. So like what I always say is like what I like to remind. Like I've been training. There's one other guy in Japan that trains in Kajukenbo. He comes from the Gaylord method,
Oh,
and he's
nice.
out in the Okayama area. He's a few hours away from me. It's like saying the distance between San Diego and LA.
Mhm.
So like we cross train. I'll go over there and do seminars and stuff. And one of the things we were talking about was like, out here in Japan, we are the only two Kajukenbo instructors that are. I mean, maybe there's another one that we haven't talked to yet, but and
Mhm.
if you're listening to this, please contact us. We would love to talk to you and bring you in.
Yeah.
But as far as we know, we're the only two that have schools open and are teaching and avidly marketing for that. But
Yeah.
something I'm always telling them is like, in Japan, nobody knows what Kajukenbo is. Outside of
Yeah.
Japan, unfortunately, many people still don't know what Kajukenbo is. So like
Mhm.
it always trips me out when if I see inner politics of people arguing what the real or unreal or best style or
Yeah.
Kajukenbo is, because I always say like I always go back, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I was listening to an interview with Bruce Lee's daughter Sharon, I think it is,
Mhm.
and she Kajukenbo came up in that interview, and
Mhm.
then she said her quote unquote, she said, nobody knows what Kajukenbo is. And that's what she said. She said, my dad made martial arts famous. And she was kind of upset that the Kajukenbo people in the documentary were talking about how they're the original MMA. And I was kind of like really reminded right then and there, like, you know what? That's, I mean, it kind of hurts. It hurts to hear that. It really hurts, and it makes me kind of angry and stuff. But I'm like,
Yeah.
if I put that emotion to the side, she's right. Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
And if you're hurt by it, or you feel like some kind of negativity, then because it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I mean, there's, granted, if, you know, Kajukenbo, what, 1947?
1947. That's right.
You know, but you had all these other styles way before then, and we have to remember Kajukenbo came from 5 different styles that were already established. You know, so again, I love my Kajukenbo, but be real. That's what makes us solid.
Yeah.
Is being real. We are stronger when we are real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then every style that is in Kajukenbo will more so be, you know, if we're perpetuating all the different styles in one Kajukenbo style, then if we do it right, they will come and even recognize Kajukenbo as, you know what, they were able to bring it all together as one. Let's support that. You know, it's there's a bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah. There really is. There really is.
So, and again, that's from my mom and dad, you know, and they're very into, you know, there's a bigger picture to everything. And when you're young, you don't hear it, but when you continue to listen, you go back into the conversations and the little words that they say, and you're like, oh, okay, it took me this long to realize it is bigger than what we are making it. The five founders really had a bigger vision, but didn't have the, what do you call it, the tools or the knowledge of how to do that, you know, to make it as solid as they wanted, in what they envisioned at their time, you know, because God, if they had the tools right now that we have, it would have been, it would be even greater. Then people from other styles would be like, yes, I do know Kajukenbo.
Yeah. And
I've heard of Kajukenbo.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, again, if you're a Kajukenbo instructor, or even just a student, that's kind of, and you take it and you have it and you're taking this seriously, that I feel that's just my opinion.
Remember, this is all of our opinion.
This is my opinion. Nothing's written in stone here. I feel it's kind of your responsibility to share that with the people around you, because Kajukenbo will never be known by everyone if you keep it a secret to yourself.
Yes.
So like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great art to share. You know, it's Ohana based. What's stronger than Ohana?
Yeah.
You know.
So kind of coming back to your story here, how kind of, and talking about how things have evolved, how did your style evolve from there? So you came back, you started training harder. You said you've always been more of focusing on, you've always been really more focused on the harder styles, harder side of Kajukenbo. And as time's passed, how has your style changed, and how have you kind of integrated that into your program?
Oh, you mean with the Abad-Mancia martial arts?
Sure. Yeah, we can jump to that point, or however you want to do it.
I don't think my style. That's a good question. I mean, I, I'd have to think about that one. I don't think I still do the same forms as what my dad taught me. Um, I think being a woman and the experiences that I have gone through um, has shaped the way I teach the forms now. Um, because now it's not just doing a form. It literally comes from a self-defense background of real life situations. So it's more of a flow, more of an attack, more of a I'm not sure. I think I'm still the same with our style. Just more of a life experience behind it. And teaching it is just more it's easier for me to teach our students where I'm coming from when it comes to the Kajukenbo forms or the self-defense or the techniques or the weapons.
And one of the things that I was really emphasized on the times that I've worked with you and your family, when you were doing your forms, you
Mm-hmm.
all of you would really emphasize on the idea that we weren't just doing fancy dance
Yeah.
movements, conjuring fireballs or anything like that. I know some people nowadays
No, I'm just
make fun
laughing
of us.
because I do that to Kamaka. That looked like a very pretty dance to me.
Right.
You
So,
know?
and if you could kind of explain to some of my listeners how that philosophy works, right? The idea, the difference between doing your form as a fancy dance movement and doing your form to prepare yourself for combat.
What is the intent? What is your intent behind your form? What does your form mean to you? I mean, even as you know, they're small kids and you're teaching it. You know, you're trying to get out what you went through in life. I don't know how, it was my mom actually. My mom was the one she always called it like the finesse of it. What is your finesse? And we didn't realize what does she mean by finesse because dad was very technical, but mom was more the finesse of it. It's like everybody can hit hard, punch hard, and kick hard, but everybody can do that. And that's what she would say. Everybody can kick and punch, but what is the intent behind it? Why are you doing it? What does it mean? So we would go through the forms. What are you blocking? Why are you blocking it? Who are you blocking? You know, who are you protecting? So that's how they would teach us. And I think that brought us to a point to where we're not going to dance anymore. And you have Sifu Brow also, you know, always telling us, oh, you guys look like pretty ballerinas. I thought you're martial artists. So, you know, there was no beating around the bush. And I think that's why it was really good for us that even till today, we don't beat around the bush. That takes too much time. Say it like it is. If you're going to change it, change it. If you're not, then that's your fault, you know? So it's kind of like that. Quit being the ballerina, quit dancing, and, you know, what is your intent? Why are you doing your form? What makes your form different from another form? And that's something that has always been only that one person can do it. Because when I do it, my son looks completely different from me. You know, and so me, Jason, and Kamaka can do the same Kajukenbo form, but it looks and feels different, and that's for each person's own experience in life. And that's how we realize not to dance and be ballerinas. Not to say that there's anything wrong with ballerinas and dancers, because they work their asses off.
They do.
Don't get me wrong.
They do.
But we are in the martial arts. Big difference.
Yeah. The intent is different.
The intent is different. Yes.
Now, kind of looking at that and time going by,
Mm-hmm.
you got your school going, you got your black belt, you had your child, you continued to evolve as time passed by.
Mm-hmm.
And how did your dad's, so obviously at this point I guess when did you start running? I know you've been teaching for a very long time.
Mm.
When did you start running your own school?
Funny story behind that one too.
Ah, very good. I like stories.
I know.
I don't know if you've noticed.
And really only my husband and really close friends know this, you know. And even my sister. But after my dad passed, I wasn't gonna ever teach again. You know, it was after Kamaka was born, you know, and when dad was around and he'd teach Kamaka. And you know, Kamaka was small. Kamaka was 3 when he passed. So, but he'd see Kamaka, and it was, you could tell, you know, you knew Kamaka was going to be in the martial arts. But after dad passed away, I could I couldn't teach Kamaka. I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to open a school. It didn't even. I was like, okay, it's done because it hurt. It hurt too much. It reminded me too much. And then I met my husband, and we moved from Hawaii back to California, and he started to teach Kamaka because my husband's from another style. He's also a black belt in another style, Mancia Brothers, Kokubo, and would watch him teach Kamaka, and even Jason also took Kamaka to one of his martial arts brothers, Sensei Milo Kudanis, and I'd literally sit there and just watch them as just a mom. And then one day, I decided to put Mickey on in my black belt, and we went into our garage, and I told Kamaka to come inside, and I taught him just a very simple form, not even a Kajukenbo form, just blocks and kicks. And he, I said, okay, do it for mommy. And then he said, my name is Kamaka Okalani Abad-Mancia. My instructor is Grandmaster Alan Abad. And the way he said it in his cute little baby's voice, I knew then that I had to be part of his martial arts journey. And so that's when Jason and I decided that we would go ahead and unite our styles as one and start teaching. Sorry, I got all all emotional. I was just trying to keep it out.
It's okay. I got you got me too. Got you and me both. You and me both.
Yeah. It wasn't in the books. I wasn't gonna do it, but because Kamaka said his Papa Alan's name, is okay. It's a sign for me to be part of my son's martial arts journey, you know. And when he got his first orange belt, he took his belt to his Papa Alan's picture and put it in front of it and bowed to it and said thank you. And we never turned back. Yeah. But
Wow.
and that's how it all began. Yeah, that's how we started our school.
Wow.
That's how we started.
Well, wow. I really want to thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important for. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I think it's really important for my listeners and other people to hear that story because I really think that can really help other people in their journeys as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me share. I mean, I didn't think it was all going to come out, but this is heart-to-heart dialogue, and it's supposed to.
Well, thanks again. Yeah, I'm just happy you shared that with us.
Thank you.
So looking
Very
back
welcome.
at how that started, you decided to start getting back into it, moving forward. What followed that? Where did you start your school, and what were some challenges that you faced when getting started?
Well, we actually started in our first house in the garage. We started with actually people that my sister's sons and Kamaka, and then some of the people we knew back in the day who had children. Um, and that went on for about a year, and then we made another move, um, and started teaching we live in a duplex, and it was only a one-car garage. So we decided, okay, well, that's okay. Let's just do what we have to do. And that came like 10, 12 students. And the challenges were there was no room. We were out, literally, our driveway is kind of big, so we'd be on the cement. We'd train in the sun, in the rain. We had no mats. I mean, talk about ground up. Yeah, they were doing push-ups on the cement. Yeah, you got all the kukai feet kind, and you know, if you're a woman and you wanted nice feet, good luck training with us.
You have to invest into a good pair of socks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was good fun. They learned, I mean, break falls and rolling, scratches, but the way, I guess the way we taught and then the way the kids received us, and even the parents were like, yep, that's how it's supposed to be done, you know. And it wasn't babying or anything. It was, if you're in a real fight, they're not going to say, let's move to a mat. You know, well, let's move to the grass so you don't get hurt. No, it might be anywhere. So that's kind of what we already put in their heads. So they're like, okay, we can handle it, you know. Especially most of our teaching and the way we teach now is because we train Kamaka, and he's this boy, man. He tells you how it is, and you gotta not be offended, you know. But you know, we work. But yeah, our challenges were, it was the weather, not having enough room. When it was really hot, it was like we could only go for 10 minutes and then take an ice break and 10 minutes more. So of course training would be longer. But we really have we started a good solid foundation from our one-car garage. And then from there we just decided, well, you know, let's put our training out there, and we just decided to go to, you know, start entering tournaments again. And that's when like everything really opened up mine and Jason's eyes. Was like, wow, the tournament scene is way different from back then. You know. So yeah, and then from there, I mean, our parents kept asking, you know, are you guys gonna open a dojo? And we're just like, well, you know, we're not. It wasn't that we're not ready. It was, we just, I guess we got comfortable, you know. And our number one thing was we just want to start a solid foundation. That was our biggest thing. You know, we want to make sure us teaching was solid. Being husband and wife, you know, the things that could happen behind closed doors. You know,
Yeah.
Well, being married, coming from different styles, you know, and trying to teach. So that was a real struggle, a real good struggle. You know, my husband and I matured together. You know, we realized it's not just his style, it's just not my style, it's our style. And, you know, we tell our students, you guys are really lucky because you're going to get a certificate from his style, a certificate from my style, and then a third certificate from the Abad-Mancia. Because we literally teach our own styles to, you know, we don't mesh it. It's taught. I don't know how we do it. I can't even explain how we do it. But when you watch our students, it's like a flower blooming. Like, wow, look at that. You know. So yeah, it's all started from our one-car garage, and I remember, what was it? It was so cold. We had scarves and beanies, tennis shoes, big jackets, fighting. We had the hand gear. It was so cool, but we continued to train. It was the dedication of it, and we were cracking up. But yeah, we wanted to build a solid foundation first, and then I think we got the nerve, or actually not even the nerve. My husband was like, okay, babe, I want to get to school. hey, good, find it. If you don't find it by this time, then don't even talk to me about it for the next year. Wait till next year. I'm tired of talking about getting to school, and that's all we do is talk, talk, talk. And I gave him a timeline. I said, if you don't find a place by this time, then wait till next year and ask me about it. So he did. He found it. He asked me to go look at it, and now we have our studio.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. Again, from the ground up, it all came from the foundation we built. Our our parents, our students, they literally put in their heart and soul into building this studio, because it wasn't just us who wanted it, they wanted it. And that's what made it even more special to us, and the conviction and determination that, yes, we're going to do this, not just for us. It's not just for us. This is for our students and our parents. And they love it. They love walking in going, yes, we have a dojo. And they're so happy for us. And it's just like, they make us more happy, and we work harder when we're happy. So
That's awesome, though. It kind of feeds off each other.
yes, and that's what we love. And anybody who comes in and they're like, wow, this is like, what do they call, like, you guys are so tight and worry about everybody. And it is, my parents, they might have left the island, but the way they raised us never left the island. Hawaii is a place where you worry about the children and you worry about the kapunas, the elders, and us in between are supposed to take care of the children and the kapunas, and that's out of appreciation and love. And so that's what we do. That's what we try to keep together and never sway from it, no matter what.
That's awesome. Really encapsulating like that. I feel like, again, that's part of the difference between Kajukenbo and some of the other martial arts out there, is that the roots coming from
Ohana
Hawaii
feeling.
and that Ohana feeling.
Yep.
That's the difference. That comes up. It came up in one of the interviews I had with I forget if it's Grandmaster or Professor, but I'll just say Mistress Stellar to avoid a wrong title here. But but yeah, he mentioned the same thing, that he picked up a few MMA guys from the gyms, not because the programs that they were in weren't good, but they were just missing that ohana. Like, they were just going in there and they were learning how to fight, but that was it, right? So like, I think that's really important. Switching gears just a little bit here. What do you think about, and this is something I've been asking a lot of the Kajukenbo instructors, what do you think about MMA, the emerging MMA fans, MMA and martial arts, and Kajukenbo? What do you think about this new scene? It's not relatively new, but I want to say that right now, especially in the U.S., it's become it is kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's become very popular, I guess. We'll start with, we'll say that. What do you think about that? How do you think that's helped or not helped from your perspective? Like, what have you seen as far as the changes and the kind of people that come into this, that you train, the kind of people that you talk to? How is MMA becoming popular affected you in particular, or your school?
Well, we've done both. We've had a student, we helped train the student to go into the amateur MMA. I don't think it's affected us at all. I mean, I don't know about other schools or other Kajukenbo schools, but if it has, I would think it's made it more of a oh God, what is that word? I can't think of a word. For us, I think for me and Jason, it was actually a positive thing because there was more of a intensity of having somebody wanting to do MMA. You know, is that sense of urgency to get your skills, whatever you learned in the martial arts, whatever you learned from us. If you want to go into the MMA, then you got to learn how to use all of it. You know, it's a mixed martial arts. That's what MMA is. And if you're going to train, if you started in a traditional martial arts, then you're going to have to learn to incorporate all the street fighting, the urgency of not getting your ass kicked, really.
Yeah.
You know, like we have Amp Legacy, which is Abad-Mancia and Po. And Po comes from my cousin Sansan and Miranda, and they were our fight coaches. And the intensity they brought, which was really good, you know, added added even to our traditional was to find it in your own heart or being, like, how can I make this work? How am I going to make it work? It was a sense of urgency. That's the difference, but it complements each other. You know, MMA doesn't realize if you come from a good traditionalist, I mean, all you need is now that intensity and that eagerness and that determination and the quickness. You know, if you're gonna come from boxing, my goodness, you know, that's some quick hands, but it's still another type of martial arts. So I think if anything, MMA is a good thing that happened for everybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for answering that question. Some people hesitate to answer it, and they have different takes, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important to get the martial arts community to think about a little more how, like, the differences and how they can complement and what to work with,
Yeah.
and they have that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again,
It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun because, man, I got a lot of bruises just trying to grapple, you know, and then a lot of kicks and shin. Oh my gosh! Don't kick me in the leg. I don't like that. I'm gonna put like a couple more leg pads on. Okay, not kick me. But yeah, for us it really helped. It complements both. You have to have both. I think you have to have both because it's different energies. It really is different energies, and whatever positive energy you can get out of it, by all means, get it. And my cousins, Sasha and Miranda, wow, their energy and their passion for MMA. So I have my passion of the Kajukenbo. Jason has his passion of his Kakubo, and then my cousin's passion of MMA fighting. You know, it's like put all those together, and we're like, yeah, we're amped. You know, and that's how Amp Legacy got born. And it just so happened it was Abad-Mancia Po. So it was like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was. Like, you know, I can't say anything. Yeah, I think any martial arts is fun if you have the heart to open up it and learn.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So we're kind of getting close to our wrap up here, but before we do, my last question. Well, actually, no, I lied. There's gonna be two more questions. Let me catch myself here. I guess the first of the two last questions. What are your goals for your Kajukenbo and your school? What are your goals for the future? What do you want? What do you want to see happen?
That's a great question. I'd like us to be solid in our foundation. I'd like us to grow as a community. I really haven't thought about the future because everything changes in a day. you know. So for me, it's making a daily, my goals are daily for the future, and that is continuing to do what we do and making our students stronger as individuals. Um, yeah, I really don't have a far along future because mine's are day by day because anything changes. You know, we everyone's goal is as a studio, they want them. You know, we want to have more students, and you know, we want the same thing too. But I think it's more of what are we going to make a difference on a daily basis, and that's going to be the outcome of our future.
No, that's actually pretty solid. Because I mean, no, I know, no, it is. I know not to sound like, not to sound like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not to sound cheesy or anything, but
Yeah,
but,
I know. What are you trying to say now?
you're just saying that because you know me. You know, I'm not
Yeah, no, I'm like, I really don't think about the future.
but no, I mean, the whole the concept of saying that you're gonna take this day by day to fulfill, to try to, you have a goal, or you have a mindset of where you want things to go, but you're more
Yes,
focused on how you are gonna make this happen every day.
every day.
That is more solid than saying I want. Some people are very quick to say, "Oh well, I want to have, I don't know, I want to have my first fighter in the UFC or whatever." They'll have this kind of
Yeah.
solid sounding goal, but then they actually don't have a plan on how they're going to make that happen, right?
Yeah,
So like,
yes. That's
if you are going to make something happen, it does have to happen in the day to day. That's where it does happen.
yes.
That's where you
Yes.
have the most control in your life. So
Yes.
yeah. So like, in my opinion, again, I always disclaim that. That's a very solid answer.
Yeah. I'm like looking at my husband like, "Dang, that's a great question. Man. I've got an answer." Well, just tell the truth. Okay, let me tell you the truth.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. So my last question, for real this time. My last. That was
Okay.
I promised you two more questions, and I let you go back to what you gotta do. Um, you know, like a lot of people are right now wanting to start doing martial arts, and I ask this to everyone from all kinds of backgrounds. They want to get into martial arts and they don't know where to start. What's your recommendation to someone who knows nothing about martial arts, but they want to start training, but they just don't know how to get started or where to get started? And a lot of people come from all parts of the world. Some people have access to a lot of different styles. Some people have access to nothing. What is your advice for these kind of people that want to start martial arts, just don't know where to start?
Know your why. Know your why on why you want to start martial arts. That's the biggest thing because there are different reasons, you know. Oh, I want to start martial arts because I want to get stronger. I want to learn how to defend myself. But know your true why do you want to start it? Because if they find a school that they'll ask you why. What is the real reason why you want to start? And let them know martial arts isn't just a high and by kind of thing. It is a commitment, and your why has to be pretty solid to make that commitment in your
All right. Well, you heard it here. Know your why. Know your why. You could, so,
life.
there's a lot of different ways to answer that, but definitely knowing why you're doing something is very
Yeah,
important.
yeah, it is. That's a long commitment to make.
Yeah, it's not a sport. I
It's
say
not a
that there's a sport element to it, but once
yeah,
the sport's done, you can only do,
yeah,
if you're fighting in a cage, you can only do that for so many
for so
years.
long.
Eventually,
Yes,
even
and you
those
can
people have to find their why. So
exactly. Jeez, my and if you really look at all the martial artists, if they started young, they're still doing it in their 90s, and their why is it makes me even if it's as little as it makes me feel young. It makes my soul feel stronger. That's a strong why. And so they continue. That's the commitment they made in their life, you know?
yeah, it's a lifetime thing.
It's a lifetime
It's a
thing.
lifetime thing. That's good. That's very good for them to know. So if you're listening, remember that. If you didn't have a why, you already got started. No, realize what you got yourself into.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Angie, thank you again so much for being on the show. Before I end anything, do you have any contact information you want to let my listeners know where your school is or how to contact your school?
Oh, sure. We are. What is our website? It is www.amp-legacy.com.
Cool.
And that's our website, or you can contact us at amplegacy310 or 310, I'm sorry, at gmail.com. We're on Facebook under Abad-Mancia Martial Arts. Instagram, Abad-Mancia Martial Arts, or no, was it Amp Legacy? Yeah. Instagram, Amp Legacy. Yeah, that. We're here in Torrance, California.
All right. So if you're in the Torrance area.
Yeah, Torrance area.
If you're in the Torrance area, there you go. Yeah. There's a place you can check out. Yeah. Well, Angie, thanks again for sharing your story with me and taking your time to interview.
My pleasure. You are an awesome host, and thank you so much for having me. It's a good talk.
Yeah, no, I'm just really glad. I'm happy we finally got to get this together.
Yes, me too.
To my listeners, stay tuned for the wrap up.
Thanks again for checking out the show. This is the wrap up. I mentioned earlier, if you want to support the show, just hit subscribe on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, you're listening to this through the many internet radio stations that support our show. Thank you very much. Jump on YouTube, hit subscribe in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, well, nothing's really going to happen. But yeah, if you can subscribe, I really appreciate it. That's really going to help me out. Also, if you want to support the show, you can jump on iTunes and write a review. Hopefully it's a good one. All right, I'll catch you all later. Bye.